Greetings. This is Kenneth Smith. I'm the author of the novel The Great Disruption. It's available on Amazon now. There's a copy of it. It's a post-apocalyptic novel about the aftermath of a deadly pandemic. I started writing that book in 2015, and the first draft was done in around 2018, and I had no clue at all that real events were going to overtake it. But I stand by the work, and I'm still going to offer it as a cautionary tale for what we need to do to keep ourselves safe, what we need to do in the event the worst happens. So, it's a hopeful book, I'd like to think. Not that it's always happy, but it's a hopeful book. So I'm going to try reading the first chapter right now. Visitor. "Sarah!" Jonathan shouted. "We have a visitor." He breathed a quick, silent prayer that this was one of his wife's good days. Sarah responded from the front room of their cabin. "Oh shit. I'll get the rifles." The security monitor alert flashed over the novel Jonathan had been reading on his pad screen, and he hit the acknowledge key before it sounded the klaxon. The video showed a ragged-looking figure at the tree line bordering their mountainside farm. Long black hair stuck out in unkempt tufts, but there was no facial hair. "Report," he said to the computer. "A single intruder just emerged from the white pines at the northeast perimeter. Probably a woman. Possibly a boy. She's limping and may be carrying a rifle." Jonathan zoomed in on the image as his computer spoke. Even at maximum zoom, he couldn't make out features. Whoever it was carried something that might be a rifle. He ran his fingers through his short-cropped graying hair, then stood to get his tactical helmet. "Any others nearby?" "I'd have said if there were. There are none within either visual or infrared range." Sarah met him in the hallway and handed him a .30-06 hunting rifle. She took another one with a telescopic sight and climbed up to the sniper nest in the attic. Jonathan set the rifle aside while he strapped on his ballistics vest and put on his helmet. He activated the heads-up display, retrieved the rifle, and stepped outside. "Plan view," he sub-vocalized. The helmet display brought up a stylized map of his mountain hideaway, showing his position with a glowing green icon and the intruders with a red one. He decided that it probably was a woman. She hadn't moved since the security monitor had detected her. He made his way toward her position, keeping the tool shed between himself and her until he reached it. Then he slid along the side of the shed, with his back against it, moving toward the corner. He paused to take a few deep breaths and slow his heart. He worked up some spit and swallowed. "Video," he commanded the helmet display. It showed the view from the camera mounted on the mast above the cabin. "Zoom in on the person." She was still approximately where she'd been when the motion detectors first sensed her. She appeared to be surveying his makeshift mountainside farm. Her rifle, if that's what it was, rested with the stock on the ground while she gripped the barrel like a walking stick. It might actually be a walking stick, but he didn't want to assume that. It was too far away to be certain. He raised the gun to his shoulder and took another deep breath. "Display off," he commanded. He didn't want to be distracted while aiming. He spun around the corner, the rifle leveled toward her. "Drop your gun," he said, shouting to be heard over the distance, about 30 yards. She turned to face him and froze. "Drop it." She shook her head. "I don't have a gun." "Whatever you're holding, drop it." She let go of the stick and it fell beside her. She wore a blue and green plaid shirt and tan pants, both of which were stained and torn. A small black belt pack hung around her waist. "I need food," she said. "Don't we all? Turn around and walk slowly away, and I'll let you live." If you come back, I'll shoot you. No second warning. She sank to her knees. Please. I hurt my ankle. I can't walk without the stick. You're the first person I've seen in more than a month. Jonathan caught his breath and looked at her above the gun's sights. If she was telling the truth, she was free of the virus. He had an incubation period of less than a week. Then he shook his head. There was no way to know if she was telling the truth. He looked back through the sights. Not my problem. On your way. She struggled back to her feet. After a second, she tried taking a step. As soon as she put weight on her right leg, she fell, crying out in pain. Just shoot me, she said through her sobs. Go ahead. Everyone else is gone. She dropped her face into her hands. Jonathan set the sights on her forehead, but he had trouble keeping a steady aim. His hand shook, and his heart pounded. This wasn't like the last man he'd killed, more than 6 months ago. That one had been in the act of raising his rifle, a clear, immediate threat. This would be murder. Assisted suicide at best. He lowered the rifle. Wait there and I'll try to help you. Don't move. I have cameras monitoring you. If you so much as twitch in the wrong direction, I'll kill you. I understand. Video on, he subvocalized to the helmet display. Monitor the intruder and sound an alarm if she moves toward the house. Program set up. He backed around the corner of the shed and then jogged back to the cabin, careful to keep the shed between himself and the woman as long as he could. John, what are you doing? Sarah asked in his earpiece. Were you monitoring? Yes, but you're not planning to bring her inside, are you? No, but I can't just kill her in cold blood, and I can't leave her to starve to death either. He entered the cabin and opened the storage closet. After a brief search, he found a tarp and a length of rope. He brought them out to the kitchen and opened the tarp a couple of folds, spreading it out on the floor. From the pantry, he took a summer sausage and a bag of dried apple slices and placed them on the tarp. He filled a 2-liter bottle with water and added it to the pile. Finally, he found an old blanket that was destined to be cut into rags, and added it as well. He rolled it all up in the tarp and tied it together with the rope. We need that stuff, don't we? Sarah asked. He looked up. Sarah stood in the doorway to the kitchen, arms folded, her hunting rifle leaning against the doorframe. Her tactical helmet hung from one hand. Her wavy gray hair had been disheveled by it. He checked the video feed in his helmet display. Their visitor hadn't moved. If she really hasn't seen anyone for a month, then she's virus-free. In a week we'll know. She's not a threat otherwise with that bad leg. You don't know that she isn't faking that injury. No, I don't. That's why I need you to cover me when I take this to her. Sarah's eyes went wide. Don't you dare get close to her. We don't know if she's virus-free or not. She's too far away for me to be sure of a fatal shot from the cabin if she tries something. You'll need to come out with me. I'll throw the package to her. I won't get closer than 20 yards or so, and I'll stay upwind. Sarah scowled and tilted her head. Are you sure this is a good idea? No, but unless we're going to live the rest of our lives here alone, we have to start reaching out at some point. I'm not ready to declare the human race extinct yet. Sarah dropped her gaze to the floor. Oh, so that's it. She can give you children. A tear trickled down her cheek. He pulled a knot tight on the package and looked up at her. Sarah, you know good and well that I had a vasectomy. There surely aren't any surgeons left who can reverse the procedure at this point. Sarah shook her head hard, as if trying to dislodge something stuck to it. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry. Of course I remember. I apologize for the implication. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. It's okay. He checked the knots on the bundle to give himself something to do. These mental lapses of hers were becoming more and more frequent. Let's take this out to her, okay? Sarah put on her helmet and ballistics vest, then picked up her rifle and cradled it like a pro, holding it safely in control so she could quickly bring it up to aim. Jonathan slung the bundle over his shoulder and picked up his own rifle. Sarah went out first, cutting across the vegetable garden to the tool shed, with Jonathan close behind. Then, stepping out from behind the shed, Sarah leveled her rifle at the intruder's position. "Lift your arms over your head where I can see them and stand up." The woman lifted her hands in the classic reach for the sky gesture. "I'm not sure I can stand without using my arms to steady myself." "You'd best make a good try. Don't give me an excuse to shoot you. It won't take much." The intruder managed to get her to her knees and push herself up with her left leg, grasping and whimpering as she steadied herself with her right leg. She wobbled a bit, but made it upright. Sarah cast a glance toward Jonathan and said softly, "My God, John, she's just a girl." Jonathan nodded. He tested the wind direction and set out with the bundle to get upwind of her. The intruder looked at him, then back to Sarah, then back again as he walked partway around a circle with her in the center. When he judged that he was directly upwind of her, he approached to where he thought he could throw the provisions and stopped 20 or 25 yards away. "Here are a few provisions. It's not much, but it might help. If you're still here and alive in a week, we'll take a look at that leg and see if there's anything we can do." Swung the package a couple of times and threw it toward her. It landed 4 or 5 yards from her position. "Can I get my stick to go over to it?" "What do you think?" Sarah said, keeping the woman in her sights. Jonathan unslung his rifle and aimed it at the intruder. "No sudden moves. Slowly pick it up by the barrel end with your right hand and hold it out where we can both see it." "I swear, it's just a stick." Jonathan checked that his rifle safety was off. "Show us." She gave a little hop to get closer to where the stick lay, then slowly bent over, balancing on one leg as she grasped it. With the end in her hand, she straightened up and held it out. Sarah had an 8-power scope on her rifle. She spared a glance to Jonathan to be sure he had the intruder covered, then shifted aim to look back at the stick. "It's the stick," Sarah said. "Go ahead and use it, but no sudden moves." "Thank you," she said, hobbled toward the bundle. "My name's Rita Ballard." "If you're still alive in a week, we can do introductions," Jonathan said. "We're going back in now. Don't come any closer to the cabin than you are now. We have a camera monitoring you, and it'll sound an alarm if you try to get to the cabin. It'd be the last mistake you ever make. It works in both visible and infrared, so don't think you can sneak in after dark. We'll have no trouble seeing you, regardless of how dark it is." "Oh, okay," Rita said. "You must have a pack somewhere. Where is it?" Sarah asked. "I lost it when I fell on a stream crossing 2 days ago. That's when I hurt my ankle, too." "Oh, sorry to hear that. Where are you from?" "New York. I was on a backpacking trip in the Smokies when the plague hit." Jonathan returned to Sarah's position. Throughout her conversation with Rita, she had kept the gun aimed at her chest. "Okay, let's get back." He moved behind the shed. Sarah joined him, keeping the rifle aimed at Rita until the last moment, when she ducked behind the shed too. "Do you think she's telling the truth?" Sarah asked as they walked back. "It doesn't matter at this point, but I have no reason to doubt her. If she's virus-free, then it'll start to matter." "I guess so." They re-entered the cabin, and Jonathan opened his laptop to set up the alarm. "I hope she lives," he said, "especially if she has information about other survivors." That's Chapter 1. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll try to read sections periodically. Thank you for listening. Keep track of my work at sksmithwriter.com, and you can search for my book on Amazon by searching under my full name as the author, Stephen Kenneth Smith. And the novel's name again is The Great Disruption. Thank you very much.